Georgie.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Ruler. How
You're
are
all.
you?
I'm good. You're all dressed up and nowhere to go.
I've been in this room for 8 months. Can I get out now?
I
Am I
guess
allowed out of
so.
the house?
I guess you can get out.
I'm too scared to open the door. Can I get?
Why?
Because I'm worried that I might catch something or die, or
Nah, you won't die.
is it safe
Dan the
now to go
man's taking
outside?
care of everything. It's 000.
I've lost 3 parents already
Oh,
in
3
the last 8
parents.
months. Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
even the ones that I didn't know I had.
George, don't make me laugh with stuff like that. 'Cause
No
that's really
inheritance
bad.
money, though, unfortunately. No inheritance money came through.
Well, you definitely won't be the
That's
filthy
right.
rich Greeks.
Are you trying to say the name of my show?
Well, I just thought, you're
The show's not
COVID
called.
free.
The
And
show's
you've
called
got
Crazy
this,
Rich Ethnics.
yeah, the crazy rich ethnics, the 3
Yeah.
bloody wogs. I'm going to use the word wog.
Yeah.
I
Well,
just want to stir the pot,
we did the poster last year, so we're going to change it now
to.
to Crazy Ethnics on JobKeeper.
Let's thank the
Well,
Prime Minister.
but by the time we start JobKeeper, we'll be finished because it finishes in March, and we're starting in March.
So should we thank the Prime Minister for that one too? Or should we
Thank the
thank
Prime Minister.
Dan the man, the Premier, who's opened us up? There's going to be work now. You'll be able to do a show.
Can I? Is he going to give us money after March?
Well, not the Premier. That's the Prime Minister. Now, you do know the difference between the Premier and Prime Minister. The Prime Minister
I know that
is Canberra.
Yeah, because of the Premier making that mistake, all the borders shut, and I couldn't go to Sydney or Adelaide to work to make money. So I had to give away thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of work to other people because I couldn't get over there. And I think that was the Premier's fault.
So that's why you're changing it from filthy rich ethnics to something else. I get it. But you know what, Georgie?
No, it's crazy rich ethnics.
Oh, crazy rich. Well, now you're crazy poor ethnics just for the moment. But you know what, Georgie? Our border's always been open. Our border was never shut.
I couldn't go to Sydney.
That's not our Premier's fault. That's Gladys.
And I couldn't go to South Australia.
Yeah, that's Stephen Marshall. He was being a marshal.
Because I was in a hotspot.
Yeah, that's Marshall and Gladys. Our borders have always been open, darling.
Because I was in a hotspot. Why was I in a hotspot?
That's not the Premier's fault. That's your fault.
My fault?
Well, if you're in a hotspot, it's your community's fault.
I booked the security guards to work at that hotel quarantine who were doing extra jobs driving Ubers and going to Kentucky Fried Chicken.
No, that's South Australia. Georgie, did you forget? South Australia. Why would you want to go to South Australia anyway? They had private security working at a pizza place. You see?
Anyway, I lost a lot of money. Someone's fault.
I know.
Not mine.
I know. We need to blame someone for that. I get that because
I followed all the rules. I followed
you're a good man.
Every single rule.
Dan was always thanking people like you, George. He was thanking you every day. For 120 odd days, he thanked you for doing the right thing.
He could have thanked the ADF helping him with security and
Well, unfortunately, the ADF wasn't given for security. You see, that's the Prime Minister's fault. It was given for support. Did you know that? Support. You need to follow me, not people who got a law background and supposed journos, because they don't read the reports. They don't read the transcripts like me.
Okay. All right.
Georgie?
Okay. All right. No worries.
They were there for support. But guess what?
Hopefully in 3 weeks' time, when the international people come back to Melbourne,
they'll be quarantined very, very well because now it's under police surveillance and ADF.
Hopefully.
And you can thank the Quotes Inquiry, Judge Quote, Coach, she put that in place. That was a huge recommendation by the board. And they're putting it all in place. Now, I'm a bit concerned about South Australia. So really, just be a little bit concerned because they're kind of a little bit all over the place, you know, because don't forget, Marshall there doesn't want to cop slack from his people like Andrews did. So
I'm concerned about Western Australia. Hang on. I'm the guest. Okay. I'm concerned a little bit about Western Australia. Are they still part of Australia? Because apparently I don't think they like
Peter
us
McGowan
much.
is always part. Listen, he's keeping WA, Georgie, he's keeping WA safe because they hold 48% of the economy. But I do hear and read today that in a couple of weeks, if that, we can go to WA. And I don't think we need to quarantine. How about that? That's a bit of a saving.
That's good. After 5 years, that'd be good to go over there if you want to go over there. Queensland's opened up this week too.
I know. We need to send our love and our regards to Anastasia. She's an amazing premier.
So she's nice. Job.
She's
nice. Why is she nice?
She's very nice.
What government is she with?
Labor.
Right. So you like her.
No, I like her because, Georgie, I like her because she's a female. She did not bend with the pressure. She copped it from the media.
The other one underneath.
That's Gladys.
Underneath.
Gladys.
How do you feel about Gladys?
I reckon she's a top premier as well. She's done a great job with the coronavirus.
What team is she for? Because you didn't like it before, like 5 minutes ago.
No,
I did. She wasn't nice.
No, the only time I didn't like her is because she had double standards, because she kept the border shut and she kept saying, I'm going to see how the virus will travel now that some of the restrictions have lifted. And meanwhile, we're on zeros. And guess what? She ends up having clusters. There were 3 big clusters in northwest Sydney, and yet she was pressurising Anastasia to open up the border. That's double standards. Unless you wanted her lot to go to Queensland for the heat. Huh?
So you don't like her. So that she's with
No. I do like her. She's liberal. She did a great job. Not probably good at picking the right man. But
who's the Tasmanian? Who's the Tasmanian one with?
I think he's liberal
Liberal
too.
Labour. Maybe they're Greens.
Liberal, but he's been really quiet down there.
I haven't heard much about him. Is it still there, Tasmania?
Still there.
Apparently they're going to have a football team now.
We've got New Zealand's doing really great. Hey, Georgie, tell me, how has the pandemic actually affected you and your beloved wife? Have you popped any more kids? Is she pregnant? I mean, you're at home every day.
I don't know about me, but Svakanaki's in trouble.
He's in big trouble, that man. It was only icing sugar, like, for God's sake. I mean, seriously. And it's just a toy gun.
And the gun was like,
it's a toy gun. He must have thought he was in Crete.
Yeah, it's a part of their culture.
In Crete.
In fact, it's racist to say anything against him.
Why?
Because that's what Cretans do. They've got guns. You can't arrest him for having a gun. It's part of his traditions.
But he's not from
culture
Crete.
To have a gun.
He was caught in Athens.
Oh, he's not from Crete. I thought he was Critico.
No. And you know what? If he is
I was just on holiday.
He was in Athens. But you know what? I've got cousins in Crete. And what my cousins told me was this. The Cretans are always ready. They've been ready for hundreds of years in case they have a war or get attacked. Now, there's been issues, remember, with Turkey, so they're carrying guns.
Yeah. Okay.
Someone's going to hold the fort for Greece. Might as well be the Crete.
Can they move the island over a bit? And it's sort of out of the way. Can they just paddle a bit? Bring it on this side? They're going to do something. Do it right.
Hey, George.
They're down there.
150 people now for weddings. Are the bookings coming through?
Melbourne, no, everyone's still scared. Everyone's still scared in Melbourne.
150, I'm not sure if
there are some bookings coming through, but they're still scared. They keep saying, oh, look, if we book you for our wedding, can we cancel? And I go, don't worry, will you get your deposit back, whatever, you know.
Tell them to book the wedding pre-March, because there are 2 hospitals in Melbourne that are getting prepared in case there's another wave in March next year. That doesn't mean we're going to go into lockdown, so don't go into a panic.
I hope not. And I hope they've got something in place now instead of like guessing. They know what they're going to do now that something goes wrong. Not only in Melbourne, but everywhere.
Everywhere.
You
I think
know,
they're all learning the hard way, actually, George.
Yeah, I think they are. I think they are. But no, I was worried that the gigs weren't coming through. Oh, the gigs at the club, they're hard to get. They won't commit. So we've been ringing up the clubs going, do you want our show to come? Blah, blah. They go, no, we're not booking shows. We're not booking shows next year. So all the RSL clubs and those sorts of venues that we used to do gigs at are really scared about.
Well, in South Australia, one of our mutual friends, he did a post the other day and he said, so let me get this right. I can have a wedding with 150 people, but I'm only allowed 10 in my house. I might as well keep having weddings.
Who's that?
Who's Kapiniaris.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I think we're doing a show in Adelaide. That's booked. They've been doing shows all the way through. They had that little scare, but they've been doing shows since probably 2 months ago. They started.
Do you think they're complacent?
Comedy shows.
Do you think they're
complacent?
I think
that was just a little cluster that went out of control. They didn't know what to do.
With the
like the one they had in Sydney. Yeah, and they'll have them everywhere. They'll have them in Queensland. They had one in Queensland too, like that.
So do we really want South Australia, Victoria with their little clusters?
I'm Australian, mate. I'm pan-Australian. I'm not just Victorian. I'm pan-Australian, except for Tasmania. No,
George.
No, I'm pan-Australian because I go all over the country. So I can't say, hey, I don't like. I love Adelaide. I did in Adelaide for 12 years. They paid for half the house.
Oh, well done.
And Sydney, I did gigs in Sydney all the time. I want those borders up. I don't want people to lock up the borders in Australia. Lock them out outside Australia. Like, I don't know why they were flying people over from New Zealand before they could fly people from Melbourne to Sydney. They were flying people from New Zealand to Sydney. I mean,
and did you see what they did there? You see that?
That's
and then they came into Victoria unannounced.
So how long have you been a politician for? It looks like you changed your job. Are you in a politics?
Well, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I was never really that much into politics until the pandemic hit. And I guess because I wanted to understand the pandemic and started listening to our Premier here to understand what's going on, when I started noticing that...
Did you say our Premier?
Our Premier, Victoria. Well, we need to see what's going on in Victoria. So our Premier, Dan Andrews, you're going to listen to him, right? Our Premier. He's our Premier currently. He was voted in, Georgie. Now, I started watching our Premier speak, and I noticed the narratives underneath the TV screen differed from what the Premier said. Now, I'd sat there watching and listening to the lives from start to finish, including the questions and the answers. And I found that certain media platforms were putting snippets up, but misleading the community and not saying what I heard. And I thought, hang on a minute. So I started getting into it. And the next thing you noticed, I started listening to the Prime Minister's live, Gladys. Anastasia with us, she can start in Queensland. I wasn't that interested at that stage with Anastasia. It was more Gladys, our Premier and the Prime Minister. It seemed those three were controlling the whole of Australia. And I learned a lot of things. The most important thing that I learned, and I started encouraging people to do, particularly those that were affected mentally, that were suffering more depression, they had fear, anger, and didn't know.
Because a lot of people committed suicide during that time.
They did, but you know what, Georgie? As sad, and it is a sensitive topic. Yeah, but
lost their businesses, work.
Yes. But you know what, Georgie? Let me tell you something.
A lot of opportunities were lost during that time. Long time.
Did you know that if you look at the DHHS website, the amount of suicides that we had during the pandemic,
what's DHHS
lockdown is not that much different to...
What's it stand for, the DHA? You can't just say DHHS.
Department of Health and Human Services.
Oh, I thought it was Dick something. Anyway.
Most people do these days, George. If you listen to that, you will actually, so if you go into that, you'll actually see the numbers of suicide are not that different, nor have they increased compared to last year. Because remember, people are already still struggling for mental illness. So there was not an increase above our normal standard amount every year. It's just that people were more depressed this year for different reasons. And yes, we had some very sad suicides, you know, because there was financial loss. But, you know,
probably a lot of marriages probably broke down. During that
one, it was an increase.
That was a big test.
It was a big test. It was for everybody, and there was obviously an increase in family violence. You know, because let's face it, when you've only got a couple of hours with your children and partners, you don't really know how the relationship is until you're actually stuck inside for a very long period of time.
Childhood obesity would have gone up.
And adult obesity.
For sure.
I put on 5 kilos. Obesity. Did you?
Yeah, I put on a lot of kilos, but all the kids have put on kilos.
Everybody.
All the kids, because they weren't playing soccer, they weren't playing sports. They all the kids at my kids' school, they're all depressed. They're all unhappy. They're afraid to get out of the house. They're too scared to get out of the house to go to school. My son was anxious for 2 weeks about going back to school. And my kids are okay. I mean, imagine kids that are in worse situations.
I guess you need to build the communication with them, and I think. Sorry, did you lose me? Can you hear me? I can hear you, George.
Testing 1.
I can hear you.
Hello.
I can hear you.
I can't hear you.
It says your internet connection is unstable.
Hang on. Yeah.
I'm just checking Is it all right now?
Oh, here we go.
Yes.
I'll get you back. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think the communication needs to increase with the young ones, because social media has played a big part in, you know, making people afraid. I always say to people that the media controls us, not the government, because let's face it, it's what we hear, what we read, that makes us react and plays on our minds. So I think the communication level needs to be increased for the children to understand, and maybe encourage them to, if they do their own research online, to go to proper governmental websites to read and understand and not have that fear. And, you know, they can still move around, go to school, and just wear a mask where there's too many people. That's it. I do it. And at the end of the day, they won't catch a cold, George.
Yeah, but you're young now, and they're kids. So you've had a life. They haven't had a life, so they don't know what's going on. You know what I mean?
I'm not a yaya yet, George.
Are you a yaya? Sorry,
no.
If you're not. Oh, okay. I thought your daughter had a baby. I'm not sure.
Not yet.
Didn't she have a baby?
No.
Okay.
Other people have.
Yeah. So you've had a whole life, but they haven't. You know, and then all of a sudden they get everything dragged. You know, mind you, we're getting feeds, yes, from Sydney and from Adelaide and for the rest. You know, they're playing football in Western Australia. They're playing football in Brisbane, and we're sitting here with masks on, locked up in our houses.
But Georgie, you know you can go outside now. You don't have to wear a mask.
It is very depressing.
But you don't have to wear a mask anymore. Yeah, only if you're in a shopping centre or somewhere it's too many people.
Yeah.
But otherwise the kids should be fine. Start getting them outside.
I'm talking about then.
And then it was dangerous. Then it was dangerous for everybody.
We are. Yeah. So it was a pretty tough time.
It was.
So, and a lot of people lost their jobs. My wife lost her job.
Did the government look after her financially?
Years worth of work.
Yeah, I know.
She got job seeker.
Okay.
Job seeker. So she got the dole.
Okay. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, George. At the end of the day, as long as we're doing the right thing and somehow we're financially being looked after as well. I didn't. I can say I'm lucky enough to have a job. I've been working from home.
You know what? The bills, it's not enough to pay the mortgage. It's not
Did you stop the mortgage?
The car bills, it's not enough. We stopped the mortgage, but you know what happens? Then they charge you extra interest on top. It's like
no,
No, let me tell you, because I know. We stopped, for example, the payments on the car, right? All right, so I cut low. And then the payments went up another 20% after that, after we went back to the payments. So it's not, you didn't get any relief. You actually got a pause, but the interest accumulated. So it's
and you pay off the car and increase your home loan, which interest rate is lower?
No,
so borrow against the house, pay off everything and just have the house loan.
Yeah, you can't do that. I don't know. Why not? You must have a good accountant, but
I do. I have a great broker.
Can you?
And the other thing a lot of people need to do right now.
Well, you're good.
Now, the other
there's a lot of people that don't know what to do.
The one important thing I can tell you right now,
You know
because
what I
the
mean?
Reserve Bank is at an all-time low, you need to get in touch with your bank and you force the bank by saying to them, the Reserve Bank interest rate is so low, I need you to reduce my interest rate on my repayments. And because you haven't done it for the past 8-9 months, I need you to backdate and compensate me for the amount that I could have saved. And Georgie, guess what? I've done it. I've done it with one bank. I'm still waiting now another 2. And they did back pay me $400 and reduced my interest rate, including line of credit, which is a lot higher. But the banks aren't going to tell you that. You need to chase it. You need to be on top of it. And when you tell them and you acknowledge that you're not a silly dummy person, that you know how the Reserve Bank works, they do look at your repayments and reduce the interest rates.
Yeah, but still you have to pay those payments back, don't you?
No, you still do, but if the interest rate drops, your repayments are a bit lower, and if you can maintain the repayments, it's probably a good thing long term. But if you can't, at least it gives you a little bit of leeway.
Yeah, I don't know about that. We'll find out. I'll go find out. But I don't think I can do that, because I think I tried that.
Well, I will send you, I'll private message you my broker and see what you can come up with the broker.
Hope I don't
and
end
have
up
a
broker.
chat to them.
I don't end up broker than I already am.
No.
Lucky we could take out super though. I mean, that was if you could do that. Thank goodness
did you touch
for
it?
us.
Did you touch
it? I did. I had to. I had to. I would have been behind.
Ah. Yeah, no,
if
I didn't touch my super.
If that wasn't available, if there was more available, I'd take it out now.
Ah, okay. Maybe not.
Well, I've got 3 parents that died at the nursing home. There must be money there.
But you said you didn't get any inheritance.
Yeah, not yet. We'll find out.
Oh, it's coming. A lot of people have waited for inheritance from the nursing homes.
Well, I want to get that inheritance before Labor goes back in the government, and then they take 60% of all the inheritance money. Did you hear about that one? That's a good one.
No. Are you talking about the death tax? That was that's a bit of a bullshit story by Clive Palmer. Do not listen to him. That's a little bit of a bullshit story to put it against Labor, but in actual fact, it's a big lie. It's a big no. It's not happening. It's a lie. He says little fibbies to turn you against the Labor government. It's a no. And if you go onto the website, the government website, it will confirm that for you. Don't listen to Clive Palmer.
Okay. All right.
I can send you confirmation if you like. I can't believe the amount of information that I've acquired during this pandemic, and I've, for some reason, taken this new interest. And I'm actually happy that I did, because I've learned a lot of things, because I want to run for council in 4 years. Can
you tell me about this one?
Go.
This one I knew that I didn't want to vote for Dan was when the government spent $1 billion on a freeway, and then he came in and said, "Nah, scrap that."
Yeah.
And then someone the other day from the Labor Party said, "Yeah," and then the Liberals, they spent $1 billion on that freeway when it wasn't. They didn't scrap it. It was Dan that scrapped it. So $1 billion just down the drain.
You know what? A lot of things are going to come out like that. But let's have a look at the billions of dollars in the robo-debt that the Prime Minister did, who started that off when he was a minister, and then he approved it, and then he approved it again being a Prime Minister, and now you can't blame no one because he can't blame himself.
What's that? What's the robo-debt?
The robo-debt. Debt.
So
you'll find a lot of stories, because one needs to throw the other one under the bus, and you're going to hear a lot of stories. But in actual fact, they're both just as bad as each other when it comes to funding. And if you did scrape it, it's usually because, and this is how because I once questioned how it all works. And I said, explain it to me in simple terms. I said, all right, I'm going to borrow money from George because I'm going to build a house.
Who have you been talking to, by the way? There's someone has to be your mentor telling you stuff. I don't reckon you've read about it. I reckon there's someone feeding you this.
I'm going to borrow money from George.
Your expert that you go to.
Yeah, I'm going to borrow money from George because I'm going to build Ruler's house. And then the people turn against me. And then the new leader comes in and says, all right, I'm going to win everybody over. So I'm going to give money to George, and I'm going to take away from Maria. And then the opposition get upset. How can you do that to Maria? So I'm going to vote you out. So then they'll come in and they'll pump money to Maria, but they've got to take money from somewhere else to pump into Maria. Do you get me?
Mm.
And that's why people swap and change.
And what about Jenny? Who's going to throw money? She's under the bus, isn't she? Poor thing.
Jenny copped it, but you know what? Jenny copped it from her secretary who finally resigned. I mean, if you listen to the Quotes Inquiry, because I listened to the whole bloody thing, she actually said, I never told the minister that there was a breach in the hotel because I thought that me and my team will fix it up. So poor Jenny found out by the media when it was too late. Pressure built, she resigned, and finally the one that didn't tell her.
What actually happened with the hotel? Well, it wasn't
a security guard. It was somebody else, and then it hit the security guard. But you know what really upsets me, George? It was a breach. It was a breach. People were given jobs. Security were given jobs, and one of the contracting security companies that was not underneath the preferred security companies that the government uses, because the government right now uses MSS and use Wilson. They've been using them for years to do different things and look after different programs. So the Prime Minister...
So we couldn't get them.
Hey? Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. We couldn't get them. We couldn't get the good companies.
We got the good companies. So basically, I can hear. Okay, on the 27th of March, which is the key date, there was a national cabinet meeting. National cabinet meeting is very different to a parliament seating that we can watch, view, and see each other rip each other apart.
Was Dan there?
Yes, the national cabinet meeting is the Prime Minister.
He was there, but he can't remember what happened.
No,
happened?
hear me. The Prime Minister with all the premiers.
Yep, they all sat down.
And the chief ministers, which is not Jenny Makakos. They're all the above ministers, right?
Yeah,
and they made a decision. Then a couple of hours later, the Prime Minister comes out. Now, if you go to the Prime Minister's government web page and you look up the transcript of his live that he announced things on the 27th, you'll actually read the transcript. He goes on to explain about incoming travellers. In 48 hours, we'll be going to hotel quarantine. He went on to explain that they fill out this card. He shows you the card. He then went on to explain the ADF will be giving support. And the support is to take them from the airport to the hotel, to go with police, they call enforcement, to the homes to make sure the ones that are at home self-isolating are there, and to deliver hampers and all sorts of other stuff. But he never said who was running the hotel quarantine. Never. He said what all the support that was given to all the states. Now, mind you, New South Wales is still using security. They've all been using security. And even now, when the new thing has been put in place here in Melbourne, the Premier did announce the other day, and he did say, unlike New South Wales, it's using security, we are now going to use police. Okay, so going back on the 27th. Then in the middle of the Prime Minister making this announcement and the Premier announcing security guards will be looking after the hotel quarantine, there was a phone call between the Commissioner with the police. So Eccles contacted Ashton and said to him, security is going to be used, which is fine because obviously these people all knew because they're part of the team. They know what the Premier is going to announce. So he hasn't really essentially done anything wrong. He didn't call me and you. He called the people within the bodies that are supporting Dan Andrews. And then Dan Andrews comes on at 3:30 and announces that security is going to be looking after the hotels, security being MSS and Wilson. But MSS and Wilson didn't have enough staff. So they then contracted Unified. So it was one of their security people. Now,
so where was MSS and Wilson's security people?
Everywhere. So you hear a lot about the $30 million and you hear about the number 3. So the psychology behind that is for you to think that it's 3 companies and they got $30 million, or Unified got $30 million. It was actually $30 million for the companies, the security companies, to look after 16 hotels. But you never hear them saying 16 hotels. So you sit there thinking, what? 3 security companies, they got $30 million. It's 16 hotels.
Yeah, but I'm not asking about what we're thinking. What actually happened? What happened?
Well, supposedly a security guard slept with someone, but that's incorrect information. But you know what the key thing is, Georgie, and I'll tell you where people got really upset, and I did too, and I was digging deep. You always hear about the 800 deaths, and we need to blame Dan Andrews. We need to sack Dan Andrews. You hear people saying about blood on his hands, etc., etc., etc. The fact of the matter is this: we've got 2 aged care systems in Victoria. We have the state government one funded, and the federal government funded the private ones. Out of the 800 deaths, there was approximately 150 in the first wave that no one's blaming, because that all started from the incoming travellers and the Ruby Princess in New South Wales, that no one talks about anymore. So that blunder does not get discussed, okay? And then we had another approximately 650 that died on the second wave, that all linked back to the security breach. But here's the problem, George. After the 150 passed away in the first wave, why didn't the federal government step in and put COVID-safe measures in place in the aged care? Because out of the state government and the federal government aged care, 0 deaths state government funded. The 800 deaths were all under the federal government funded aged care. Every single one of them.
All right. I've got a question. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Because you've had all the time and I'm the guest.
Yep.
Why, after that happened, 150 people passed away, why didn't the government try really, really hard to get security and police to make that never happen again?
Because the 150 all under the federal government aged care falls under the federal government. There was nothing Labor could do.
But they saw what went wrong. Why didn't they try really hard?
Because there was an inquiry to the aged care, and the minister, the federal minister that looks after aged care, in his inquiry, he admitted, 1, he didn't know how many people had passed. Now, we all did, because we listened to Dan Andrews every bloody day, who used to tell us. He had no idea. This is in the inquiry. And he also turned around and said, I did nothing. We put nothing in place. Whereas if they put something in place under the 150, the 650 should not have died because someone did something naughty or did something incorrect in hotel quarantine. It should have stopped there. But people were still visiting the aged care. People were still working from site to site because nothing was put in place and PPE was being used.
All right. So if all this stuff was, then why did people resign and get sacked?
Who got sacked?
In the Labor Party.
No
Eccles resigned. All right, what did he do?
Eccles and all that resigned for other pressure because of the hotel quarantine, but he did nothing wrong in relation to that phone call.
Well, he shouldn't have resigned. If he's innocent, then he shouldn't resign.
Yeah, but he said something about, I don't want me to be the focal point. So I don't know what that's all about. Well, that'll come out eventually. It will come out eventually. But Brett Sutton, for an example, they started attacking Brett Sutton because of an email that he withheld from the inquiry. Now, that email that he received from DHHS, Department of Health and Human Services, asking him who's doing the hotel quarantine, that was sent to him at 6:30 p.m. on the 27th of March, which was 3 hours after our Premier announced security. It's after the fact. So that's why he said it's irrelevant to send that email. And it was very briefly answered, so you don't even know whether he answered it or his PA answered it. Because remember, he gets thousands of emails a day. So he did nothing wrong again. And now with the inquiry, because it's taking longer, they all handed out their phones. They've all done everything. They found nothing. But they know, the Coates Inquiry and the board know where the decision was made and who made the decision. Now, I'm interested to see how they're going to announce it and if they're going to announce it.
When are they when are they going to start talking about it, if that's the case?
I think it's December the 12th or 16th. It's somewhere around there, those 2 dates. I can't remember. But the interim report has come out. Georgie, read the interim report It's 89 pages, but go to endnotes, #21, #19. Read that.
If I didn't feel like killing myself, I'd like to feel like it now after reading
Do you know
the
what,
interim
Georgie?
report.
If you
89
read it,
pages.
no, if you read the #21, it's the coronavirus measurements report by the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, who says with Murphy, they made the decision for businesses to close. They call it going into hibernation. And he actually did say that many businesses will not be able to reopen. The decision was already made.
Which was a good idea. It was a good idea because we see in Europe and America that it's out of control.
But people are paying the price. That's right. We just need to think of look what's going overseas and say that we had the low numbers.
I don't know why they didn't at the start when you said they had that meeting, the premiers with the Prime Minister.
The national cabinet meeting.
Why didn't they just come up with one plan where everyone did the same thing?
They did. They all did the same thing. All the states.
Well, it all looks different to me. It all looks different to me. Like it all,
because
the
we
Queensland
had
Premier did
months
their thing,
later.
and the Sydney Premier did their thing.
Yeah, because months later in June, remember we had a breach at the hotel. It was never told to the minister. It went out of control. Nothing was put in place in the aged care by the federal minister for aged care. And then we had 800 deaths. And that was the biggest focal point. The biggest focal point. So everyone focused on that.
Let's stop talking about politics.
All right, let's stop. Now,
we're all sick of politics,
rich,
aren't we?
no, crazy rich.
Why are you saying we're filthy?
No, I can't.
Where'd you get the filth? If there's one thing I've been doing, it's having a bath. That's the only thing I do around this place.
They're looking at going cashless because apparently cash has got coronavirus. So that's filthy cash.
Who says it's... Where's the filthy in that top crazy rich ethnics?
It's not. It's crazy rich ethnic.
Okay. Have you seen a movie called Crazy Rich Asians?
Asians. That is the best. I saw that twice.
All right. So you like the title Crazy Rich Asians, but you don't like the title Crazy Rich Ethnics. Is that right?
Well, why can't it be crazy
I've lost you again.
Why can't it be crazy rich wogs? Did you lose me?
Hang on.
Come on, Georgie.
These are my earplugs.
Can you hear me now? Come on, George.
Let's see.
Oh, I can still hear you. No, I've lost you. Hello.
You there?
Yeah.
Ramoto Zoom. You there?
Georgie, can you hear
there
me?
you are. Are you back?
All right, can you hear me?
Can you?
All right.
Yeah,
I can hear. Okay.
You're back.
Georgie.
So you like, is that because you're a Labor voter, you like crazy rich Asians? Has that got something to do with the Communist Party?
No.
Is that what that means?
I just think it's a great movie. I think you guys will be hilarious. I mean, you, James and Tahir, that's not,
we're not doing that movie.
No, I know you're not doing that movie. Hey, Georgie, why can't it be Crazy Rich Wogs?
We just use the title Crazy Rich.
Why can't it be Wogs?
Crazy Rich Wogs?
Yeah. Are you worried that there might be illegal implications?
There might be. There can be.
Do you think you'll stir the pot?
We're not allowed to. But you know what? I'd rather not use that word.
Is that because you don't want to get into trouble?
Using that word. No, I think the plan was we didn't want to use that word.
Okay, so who owns the word?
Because we use it too much.
Okay, but who owns the word?
Crazy rich ethnics? Us.
No, the other one.
Which word?
Wog. I used to be called the Wog when I was
Andrews.
little, so that was already pre-owned by the Skippies. I don't understand how...
If you're talking about a colleague of mine...
Ex-colleague or current?
Ex-colleague. He owns the word Wog boy.
Yeah.
There's 3 words, but he doesn't own the word... I can't remember now because it's been a couple of years since we did that thing. I'm not sure. I can't remember now.
Actually,
he owns three titles.
Oh, does he?
But I don't think he owns the word Wog. I think he owns Wog boy, not Wogs. He doesn't even own Wogs out of work. It's Wogs at work. And
okay, that's fine. But he just doesn't own that one word.
Yeah, but we don't want to use that word anymore.
That's fair enough.
We just don't want to use it.
And you're not going to use the
We're
M word.
overusing it.
You're going to cut out the M word as well?
Malacca word? No, why not use the Malacca word?
I don't know.
As you can see during this pandemic, there's been a lot of Malacca action, hasn't there?
Hey, George, talking about being a lot of M's, did you hear about the guy that married his sex doll? He had a wedding?
Yes, I saw it today.
How amazing is that?
Yeah.
And he said it's so good because they don't communicate verbally, but it's about touch and feel good, and that's more important.
Well, think of the positives there. Doesn't talk back.
Yep.
There's no arguments.
Yep. She doesn't ask for much.
Doesn't eat much.
I'm not going to go there. Next.
What else?
And then you've got the Kineso, who's been donating his sperm, and he's fathered over 23 kids. We've gone from one extreme to the other.
I know this is the big malakir that I heard the other day.
Go.
Kamala Harris, Joe Biden's.
Yep. She's the first African Asian American female. Yep.
President.
Yep.
Vice President. Should be president soon.
Yeah, she'll be president. Don't worry.
Hasn't got too much time left. Anyway, the way it's going. She's Black Lives Matter, right?
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter. Yeah. And she's married to a white man.
Does that mean
doesn't his life matter?
George, can we go back to the man that married the sex doll?
How does that poor bastard feel? He feels like the sex doll. He tried to say something. She's like, "Shut up, Whitey." Fuck you.
No, let's go back to the sex doll. He even danced with her.
I want to talk about Pauline Hanson. All
right, let's talk about our friend Pauline Hanson. Now, Pauline Hanson's she's a gem. Well,
ever since, you know what? Can I finish? You've been talking most of this. I don't know why you even had an interview with me, because all you've done is talk.
Because you've asked me questions.
Jesus. So Pauline Hanson, right? Okay. You don't hear much about her anymore, but ever since Donald Trump, she seems normal, doesn't she? Next to him.
Are you mocking Trumpy? Life will never be the same without Trump.
Oh, I think he had a good go. I reckon
he's done a lot of good stuff as well. Everything he said he'd do, he did it.
I reckon he did it as a joke. It would have been like a joke, like in what's the movie with Eddie Murphy, where he's poor and then he becomes like a billionaire in the stock market. What's that? Trading Places.
Trading Places. Yep.
I reckon they had there was a bet with some other rich bloke. I bet you can't become the president of America. He goes, well, I bet you I can. Whatever.
And he did.
It's going to be great. You're going to love it. It was a bet, and he did it, and he got to the first round, and then he had to keep going, and then he ended up and it's like this joke is just going on and on and on and on. I don't think he even means it. And now that he's not president anymore, he's just trying to milk it for as long as he can. No, they cheated, and I should be in there.
Until someone comes along and says, you're fired. Remember The Apprentice?
Yeah, remember The Apprentice. You know how he wanted to build a bridge? Now he wanted to build a wall. Now he's got to build a bridge and get over it.
I'm telling you, life will never be the same without Trump. He's a great businessman. He's made shitloads of money. And that was basically what he put in place.
Hey, he did all right.
Except for, unfortunately,
someone who wasn't really a president.
A president, yeah, no, he was never a politician.
Wasn't really president material, no.
And the only sad thing is with the coronavirus, he failed them there because there's 13 million cases and over 200,000 people have passed.
You know what? Even without him, I reckon they still have problems. Because if you have a look at all the social media with the Americans, they don't follow rules.
No.
Everywhere, except for Australia, Dan
George,
was blaming...
Do you honestly think that in Australia everyone followed the rules? I've lost your video.
I know. Someone's trying to ring. Hang on.
iPhone Georgica.
How do I get out of this now?
I don't
What am
know.
I doing?
Just don't hang up.
Oh, decline. There we go. Do that. You still there?
Yes.
Yeah. So, what were we talking about? That's what Victoria needs now. Someone who's not really a politician.
Yeah, Dan Andrews. They asked him one day. They said, when are you going to go into politics? Nah. They asked him, when are you going to go into politics? There you go.
Well, how long? When is he going to start working for China?
He's not going to work for China. The Prime Minister's already working for China.
He's got a job with China.
For China for ages, George.
I think the Prime Minister's been sacked by China. I think they don't want him anymore.
I think he's rocking the boat. I think I'm having more anxiety over him rocking the boat than the pandemic. It's a bit concerning. It's a bit of a worry, actually.
Well, there might be a war, so that might be 2021 World War.
Well, then we need Trump here to take care of China.
Well, it's gone now. Might be America and China versus Australia. Imagine that. And New Zealand. All we're going to have to protect us is Tasmania. They're from overseas.
So, George, we've got the show coming up.
Yeah, what's the title?
Crazy Rich Ethnics.
No, ethnics with an F.
Ethnics.
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 That's how you say it.
Oh, ethnics.
Crazy Rich Ethnics, which is
Crazy
our
Rich
show.
Ethnics.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's me, Tahir, and James Liotta.
Yep. He's done some amazing works,
guys,
actually, Liotta, during the pandemic. He did some stuff on mental health. Can you hear me? Oh, George, are you sticking your finger up at me? Georgie.
Testing 1, 2. Are you
Oh,
back?
yeah, I can see.
1,
I can
2.
hear you.
Yeah. So we're going to do shows in Melbourne, hopefully, unless something happens. That's what we're going to say in this business now. Unless something happens, we'll be doing shows next year. So we're doing Shopping Town Hotel in Doncaster, 16th of April.
Yep.
The 4th of June, we're doing Club Italia Sporting Club in, I think, Sunshine.
Yeah.
4th of June. And then 23rd of July, we're doing the Sphinx Hotel in Geelong, sort of Karaya, Geelong, that area.
You should invite Dan Andrews to your show, because that will lock in to make sure that we don't go into any lockdown restrictions.
No, I don't think, because he might have some jokes about him by that stage, so maybe not. So what about, you want to know about the other states?
Yes.
New South Wales, and I think Gladys is actually hot. If she had a nose job, I reckon she'd be better looking. But
she's a lovely looking lady. She's
quite
got a
charming.
nice mannerism.
I think that guy, the guy she had the affair with, he's
a bit of a.
Maybe
he's like that guy that got.
He looks like the guy that got. Can I finish my sentence? He looked like the guy that was sacked by the Labor Party in Melbourne. What was the guy that was doing the dodgy deals on the side? What was his name? He looks like that. Ugly. So, but she's quite charming girl. She
presents herself well. She does. And when she does wear Malakia really nice, she's very pretty.
Yeah. When they had the masks, you know why they didn't wear the masks on it? Because Gladys couldn't get her on the face. She'd get up to here and then the straps wouldn't actually tie up.
Are you sure she's not Greek?
Now she's Armenian.
Armenian. Oh, it's close enough.
Which is next door. Next door. So, New South Wales, if anyone's listening or watching,
yep,
probably not by now, because we've been on for so long. Because, on social media, they've got 3 seconds attention span, then it's over, forget it, they're off. But
if they'll still listen to us.
27th of March, Revesby Workers Club, and 25th of June at the Fraternity Club in Wollongong.
The Fraternity Club?
In Wollongong, yeah.
The Fraternity Club, where the Guinness donates his sperm.
Tell me about that. What's that one? What happened?
The fraternity club.
Not fertility club. For someone who reads a lot of pages of politics, you don't know anything else, do you? Not the fertility club, the fraternity club. Fraternity.
Fraternity
which is like,
club.
in America, the fraternity is the
Okay.
fraternity. Fraternity.
Okay, fraternity club.
Is it a silent R? Fraternity.
Fraternity club.
Not fraternity. Fraternity. With a
Fraternity.
and then
okay.
in Adelaide,
Kapala, is it Kappa Pala?
my second favourite city in Australia, Adelaide. Nothing to do with their premier.
Marshall.
I don't even know his name.
Stephen Marshall, Mr. Marshall.
What's Marshall? What's his surname?
Marshall.
What's his surname?
Marshall.
I thought his name was Marshall.
Stephen.
Marshall Stevens.
Stephen Marshall.
Oh, Stephen Marshall.
He just needs the Marshall badge. But he does a runner.
I'll send him a nice letter.
He does a runner, George. Every time he comes on and does a speech.
Stop talking politics. I'm trying to tell you about the gig.
Ella.
Filthy rich Asian ethnics, whatever it's called. Now, Saturday the 3rd of July, we're at the Aqaba Hotel.
Oh, Aqaba, that's it.
Two shows.
Oh, they're lucky.
And that was the first one we booked. Mm-hmm. So if anyone's got balls in Australia, it's Adelaide, because they were the first ones to book us. You know what's happened? Adelaide are going to do their comedy festival. Melbourne, Susan Proven.
Yes.
She's they bailed out. They're going to have a festival which is a visual like what we're doing, virtual reality. What do you call this?
A Zoom
interactive.
webinar.
It's going to be an interactive comedy festival. What kind of a bloody... And you're saying malakas don't exist anymore. That's the biggest malaki I've heard in my life. Luckily, at the Comics Lounge in North Melbourne, we can go to some live shows. So if you want to see some live comedy in Melbourne, go there, because that's Susan Proven. Doesn't know what she's doing. Anyway, so, and in Western Australia, we're even going to Western Australia if they're still part of Australia. We're going to do a show at the Astor Theatre on the 10th of July.
Fantastic.
So, you're frozen. Oh, no, you're back.
I'm back now.
So
George, are you going to do any more shows, or is just focusing on that tour at this stage?
At this stage, I think we'll do these gigs. If the venues get a bit more confidence, maybe we'll do some more. Yep. But at the moment, it's these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shows. We'll keep it at that. And then later on, we'll see how we go. They might announce some. So next year, I think, basically, I might be doing some comedy shows here, comedy shows there, but it's going to be more weddings, hosting weddings and hosting functions and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Remember, because it's one of those...
Most of the clusters happen in the northwest of Melbourne, so try and stay clear from northwest, because down southeast, we don't get clusters here.
I'm going to wear a condom and a mask.
Then that's full PPE.
Now, if you're going to watch this interview that I'm doing with Roulakk, everybody, just watch this bit, because this is the interesting bit. The first bit is just Roulakk trying to apply for the Labor Party position of the next politician. She wants to be a minister. So if you want entertainment, watch it from 60% onwards. 60% before is just Roulakk just doing a political campaign.
No, I want to be councillor, and then I want to be mayor.
Mayor of Melbourne?
No.
Mayor of where?
Well, it could be Kingston or Bayside. I mean, both.
Oh, okay. Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Good to have a Greek girl there.
Yeah.
I remember when I was living in Richmond, there was my mum's next door neighbour, Sideropoulos, was the mayor of Richmond. Remember Sideropoulos? Yeah. I think he was a Labor man too, Sideropoulos.
No, I'll be running independently, George.
Oh, really?
I'm not. Yeah, when you're running for council, you run independently. It's better that way.
You don't like red shirts. You don't like wearing the colour red.
No, I want to be independent, so that way everybody loves me. Because then when I go for mayor, I need everybody's votes.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's what I am. I'm independent. I'm not right. I'm not left. I'm in the middle.
In the middle.
And if I like someone, I vote for them. If I don't like them, I don't vote for them.
That's fair enough. And usually you should vote on facts and know what you're voting for, because everyone's got different things that they want to see happen.
Look, growing up, I used to vote Labor because my dad was a Labor voter. Most of the Greeks were Labor voters.
Well, George's dad, he's a swinger. He used to swing.
We're talking about politics now, but I reckon I'm a swinger too. I'm going to vote for whoever I think is the best. I voted Greens at one stage, and I just went, why did I voted waste for the sex party. Now I know
nothing happened. So I got married instead.
Oh, you married? Did you get married?
This is back then.
Oh, how about now? You married now?
No.
Are you in a relationship?
Yes.
Can you talk about it on this thing?
Yes.
What's his name?
George.
George. Good. All right.
George
That's
F.
a good relationship. Hey, just because you've been in quarantine doesn't mean he's pissing you off.
No, he doesn't.
Give the guy some.
He's actually the best person to be in quarantine with. He was out every day because he was essential services. He was never home.
What was he doing? Making shavlaka.
He was going from supermarket to supermarket. Then he'd come home and he'd have to strip down. I used to spray him with Glen 20 in the shower before he came near me.
Imagine if that was a cologne or a perfume, the Glen 20. Was your tongue numb? Like,
I reckon it's going to become a cologne.
Glenn Robbins can be the spokesperson for Glen 20. He can be like Kel, Kel from Kath and Kim.
Oh, gosh. That's so funny. So what else, George?
So does George like Dan?
He does like Dan.
Katalava.
He didn't at the start until I started giving him facts and telling him where to go for the facts. So they went from my mouth and my mind. And when I used to make him sit down and listen to the inquiries with me in the lives, that's when he got it, realised what was going on.
Look, I think with Dan, I was pissed off with what happened with that quarantine.
A lot of people were, yes.
I blame the Labor Party, not just Dan, the Labor Party. Yep. But after that, they worked really hard to get it back.
That's right.
And they've done well. They've worked hard and they got it back. But they had to, because that would have been the end of that party. If it blew out anymore, it would have been bad for the Labor Party.
But you know what the sad thing is, George? The sad thing is they had no support from the opposition. And Mark McGowan did a live, and he actually said it more than once, that he did it on his own. He had no support. And, during this type of an emergency, a national emergency or worldwide emergency, people should work together. So one thing that's come out of the Coates inquiry interim report, the recommendation is all parties need to work together when something like this happens. And then they can bitch and bag each other after.
I thought he and ScoMo were working together at the start. They were actually
the Premier always used to say that because he was trying to stay nice. And then a couple of times he lost his shivers and he retaliated. But he used to bite his tongue and say, I have a very good relationship with the Prime Minister.
Didn't they have a good relationship?
Well, I thought he did because he kept saying it, but I didn't see any support. I think Dan was just trying to be nice and stay nice so he can focus on fixing things up because he wasn't getting any support from the opposition. And the fact is, you know what they did between themselves, they might have thought it was really funny, but the fact is it actually affected the people. That's where the damage was.
Who, the politicians?
Yeah, what the politicians are doing between themselves, bagging and putting him down, it wasn't affecting Dan Andrews. It was affecting the people.
Who, the people?
Us.
Us the people.
Yeah, us the people.
But that happens all the time, doesn't it?
Yes, but it shouldn't through a pandemic. Not through a national emergency, a state emergency, no. They should be working together, get us out of the mess, then do what you do that we're all used to.
Yeah,
and give us some great comedy material.
I reckon it was a big, and you can see it in America, it's just become a civil war between left and right, hasn't it?
Sad, isn't it? Because we should all be one. We're the people. We all should be one.
Look, I know just even on Facebook, you say a little joke, and I was getting smashed by people.
Oh, Georgie, I saw you. No, you started at the start and you asked the question, and then you turned on Dan, and then everybody loved you. I got viciously attacked, and I stuck to my guns because I said, you know what? I'm not here to get likes. Yeah, I said, I'm not here to gain likes. I'm giving facts. But now everyone seems to be okay with me because they realise I wasn't so bad.
Yeah. And I blocked everyone that went for me. Mind you, they were Aussies that I would have never had on my page either. They were like, you know, Barry from the country, you know.
Oh, but Barry from the country likes you, George.
How did he find me on my page? Where's this guy from?
You are very, very well known around Victoria.
Well, not in the last year because I've been stuck at home. I don't even know my way around Victoria. I drove to Carlton the other day for dinner, and it was like going on a trip to Ballarat or something.
Did you and Fotini, the first time you actually went out, like seriously going, you know, we're going to go out and eat out, did you find it strange getting dressed up? Because George and I did a date and we didn't know what to wear, and it was really bizarre.
I reckon I've been wearing the same tracksuit for a whole year. And like we couldn't even go to shops to buy another tracksuit. That's how bad it was. But there was that one time when the lockdown finished and we were allowed to go out, and with the kids, we went to Oakley and had dinner, and that was really special. And then bang, we were in lockdown again.
Isn't it amazing the things we've taken for granted? What's one thing out of this pandemic that's positive that you can take with you and you don't want it to change?
No, I hated it. But the things that I've learned is that we take a lot of things for granted. One of the things is just the things that our parents used to do that we don't do anymore when it comes to fixing things around your home, because you've got nothing to do. So you start doing those things rather than hiring a guy to come over, fix it. You try having a go yourself, fixing the fence or doing that or painting that or, gardening. I've been doing a lot more gardening. Things like, cooking at home, because you can't really have McDonald's every night or KFC because that's what was open,
Did you ever order McDonald's?
No.
Uber it?
No, because at least it was a drive. We used to drive to go get McDonald's. At least that was an excuse to get in the car and do something. We were getting Thai. So if the boys wanted Macca's, Fatini and I would have Thai food.
Yep.
We'd order it and we'd pick it up, of course. But then it was out of our 5K range, so we couldn't go there anymore. But when we could, we'd go and get it, and that was like a date. So that was like us going out. So the boys had finished whatever their Macca's were heavy, and then we'd set the table and no, because we couldn't leave the house. We live in Doncaster, remember?
Did you build a tent in the backyard?
No, because it was in the middle of the winter. Don't say silly things when I'm trying to be serious. What else did we learn? Oh, we couldn't get a cleaner anymore, so we had to do all those jobs. Gardener, we had to do the gardening.
Who cleaned the toilets?
We cleaned the toilets.
Okay, who's we?
Fatini. Oh, Fatini was the boss of the toilets, but then I was the second boss.
Did the kids learn to become junior master chefs?
No, they just played Fortnite the whole time.
Okay.
That's the thing. That's what I felt sorry for my kids, because the homeschooling, the no exercise, you could go for a walk and you could ride your bike, but it was the same track. At the end, we were all sick of doing that. So I felt sorry for them the most. I think they copped it the most out of this. But look, we weren't in a world war.
The kids did, yes.
We weren't in a war where bombs were exploding outside our houses and that sort of thing. So there was still food around. We could still eat. We could still lucky we live in an era where we had social media, so we could do this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's a sort of a fake world, isn't it? It's not a real world. You need.
Well, there's not that human face-to-face interaction, but at least we can do this. So we don't necessarily have to stop communicating with the outside world. But I think in general you are right. The ones that really were affected were the kids.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Now, Georgie, I reckon we should wrap it up.
But let me tell you something.
Yes.
Because I'm talking now. What was I saying? Anyway, now I think, and now that the kids have gone back, they're all feral. They're not. They haven't gone back into where they came from, where they left off from. They've come in very aggressive. So every day there's some sort of argument or a fight at school or this or that. So they don't know. They've forgotten how to interact.
Yeah.
These kids. And I don't know if it's because of like Fortnite games like that, where they're fighting all the time, killing each other and, online, or if it's just they've forgotten how to interact with people.
I think they've forgotten. I think we all have forgotten. George and I found that too. As adults, we've kind of like, what do we talk about? It's, and it's like, why we keep talking COVID? It's like we can talk about something else, but it seems to be that's the only thing we can talk about.
Even myself, I haven't worked yet. So I've gotten work and it's coming, but I haven't worked. I'm very anxious about working. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. But until then, I'm having nightmares about being on stage, having no idea what I'm talking about. No one's reacting, no one's applauding, laughing, whatever. I don't know where So I am really anxious about performing at the moment. So I think
that's fine. There's nothing wrong with you jumping on stage and showing your vulnerability and showing what everybody else is feeling, and just jump on there and say, hey, I'm anxious. And maybe just take it from there.
I'm not going to do that.
Why not? Keep it real.
No, I'm more excited about playing. So what I was doing, I wasn't really writing any material because I couldn't. Because you write material, then you try it out. But if you've got nowhere to try it out, what's the purpose of writing the material? But
you can just try it out on me and George on a Zoom. If I laugh, it's done deal.
It's not the same. I need a crown. But I learned a whole heap of songs on the guitar, which was good. That's what kept me sane during the whole time.
That is very good.
Playing the guitar. It's like I had my guitar. So because I'm putting together like a Blues Brothers show.
That'll be good.
That style.
Yeah.
For the future. So I learned all those songs. So they're all blues songs. So I've got another body of work that I've never actually explored.
So something else has come good out of it. There you go.
Yeah, so that's something that's come good out of it. But yet, the things that I was really good at, like when we finished, that month that the pandemic started and we had to close shop, I was on fire. Like I was kicking ass. And now I'm going, am I ever going to be able to reach that standard that I was at?
Am I ever going to see your face again?
No way, get stuff off. Went down the sandy pavement and my things the walls decided clearly.
Ever gonna see your face again?
No way, get stuff. Come me see. Am I ever gonna see your face again?
Love it, Georgie. On that note, I reckon we should wrap it up. Beautiful.
One more?
Yeah.
Here we go.
I'm getting a keyboard. You're coming over with Watani and the boys. Bring the guitar. You and George will be jamming.
Yeah. What does George play?
Keyboard.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, no Greek songs though. He only plays skippy songs.
All right then. Right,
Georgie, on that note,
here we go.
Thank you.
rolling, rolling, rolling. Keep the bodies going. Na, 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 na.
Aloha.